last week when he preached. And he posed, I guess, I don't know that he posed a question, but he made a statement, so I wrote this down. This was what I was going to follow up with my Sunday school class. What did you do this week in regards to our mission for God? What did you do to glorify, or as far as in regards to His name, His provisions, His message, His love, and encouraging one another? What did you do this week in regards to that mission? For a lot of us, it'll be like, oh, nothing.
What I didn't do.
Yeah.
I prayed a lot.
I encouraged my fellow golfers yesterday because they were not doing real good. I was beating all of them, but I encouraged them and talked them up.
No, we didn't. Pretty sure there was not a lot of support going on there. Is that the golf thing with the church?
No, we didn't.
No, that's next Saturday.
You don't get invites, you know.
That's next Saturday.
But think back this week. And I mean, you can answer out loud if you want to. If you want to talk about something you did, tell about something you did. If you think, and you can think of a time when you absolutely just missed it, when you had the opportunity, and you want to share about it, go for it. Or if not, right, you'll be like, I'm just going to think about this, but I'm not going to share it. That's cool too. We'll move on. So, anybody want to tell anything?
I told people what my new tattoo meant.
Cool.
What's your new tattoo?
It says
It's
no
just
doubt.
No doubt.
It says no doubt with a spear through it, and it's right here on my ribs, which is where.
Sounds
Jesus
pretty,
was
Gwen
stabbed with
Stefani
a
to me.
spear, and that's where Thomas wanted to put his hand, was in his ribs and his hands. So it's not to doubt your faith.
I had, speaking of that, it's weekly, and that was one of the reasons I got the one I got on my arm. And except one of our patients this week, she said, "Does that say ransomed?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't believe anybody would pay anything for you." And I was like,
What's her
Dang.
name? What was her name?
I can't tell you the tip. But
Oh my.
People need to figure it all out. Call her up.
I told her, I said, yes, they did. His name was Jesus. That's where she laughed. She's like, I don't believe anybody paid anything to get for you. So,
You must be making it work.
Anybody else anything? Or y'all are just terrible people and y'all suck.
Nothing would suck.
Hey, a room full of people just like me.
But
But the reason I wrote that down was just to give us all just a chance to think back, like the message that we get when we're in here and the message that we get from Calvin. There's points to it and there's applications to it, but so many times we walk out on Sunday morning and we never think back about what we just talked about, right? And essentially, it's not Calvin talking, he's just giving us what God says. And so for us to walk out and then spend our week in totally disregard of what we just heard, essentially from God, and so just to ignore the Spirit.
See, I knew it was coming. I just knew it.
So, but sir, so we got another. Hey, the cool thing is everybody that's here, we got another chance this week to do it again. All right, and I'm pretty sure, guys, Calvin's going to speak about our mission again this week, and so we got another chance to live that out. So our class has been in 1 Timothy. We're just kind of walking through a couple of books, and we are now made it to 1 Timothy chapter 5. Every week, we've had great discussion because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. There's always a controversial. There ends up being a controversial topic, or somebody makes it controversial.
It's your family that does it.
It is. Yeah. This week, I'm not sure how this can be real controversial. So we're gonna roll through it. The way we've been doing it is we just kind of we hop in a chapter in a book. We start reading through it and we stop and just kind of discuss what's being said and kind of what we interpret it and go from there. So again, Paul's writing to Timothy here, and this is his first letter to Timothy. And he's covered a lot of things in the first part of 1 Timothy. And a lot about our mission and a lot about how to accomplish this. Again, you got to remember, context, who's writing and who he's writing to. Timothy was essentially his apprentice. He was his Paul 2.0. He invited him along on his missions, and then he's sending him out. And so these are our letters to Timothy. Like, hey, here's some things that are gonna come up. Paul had received questions, and he's addressing Timothy going, hey, here's how you handle them. So, you hit chapter 5, and it opens with this. It says, do not rebuke an older man, but exhort him as a father, younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters, with all purity. And that last little part is where he's talking to Timothy about the younger women, because he's talking about within the church. You know, within his group, he's saying, you know, respect the older men in the church. Yeah, Timothy, you got a good head on your shoulders, and you got a good mission, and your heart's right. But when you walk into there, there's gonna be some older guys that you can learn from. So, you know, don't get all over them. Take the opportunity to learn from them. Respect them. He says the younger men as brothers, walk alongside of them and encourage them, walk with them, be an example to them. He mentions the older women as mothers. Again, treat them with all the respect that they deserve, and care for them. And we're going to get into a little bit of that going forward. And then he hits the younger women. He says, younger women as sisters with all purity. And he's like, be careful. Be careful around the young ladies, because you are going to be tempted. So then he hits verse 3. Honor widows who are really widows. But if any widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn to show piety at home and to repay their parents. For this is good and acceptable before God. Now she who really is a widow and left alone, trusts in God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she who lives in pleasure is dead while she lives. And these things command, that they may be blameless. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those in his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So we stop right there. Again, Paul's just kind of giving him some guidance. But he makes a good point. He's talking about the widows within their community, within their church. He's saying, hey, it's our responsibility to take care of them. But it first falls to their children. Like, if they have children, like, it first falls to them, and that is their responsibility. And you know, he wraps it up right there in the first part. He says, if anyone does not provide for his own, especially for those of his household, he's denied faith and is worse than an unbeliever. And I think the reason he's saying that is because he's saying, hey, he's heard the message, he trusts in Christ, but he ain't even willing to take care of his own family. Like, he's completely ignoring what we're called to do.